will be recorded, so I don't care. First, I'm going to show one of the biggest problems with Xbox Elite controllers and Xbox controllers in general is that these bumper buttons that get used so much tend to break. As you can see, this one's kind of loose, and the only way you can't activate it from the side like you normally can on this one. You can see you can just move up a little bit. You have to actually like get up in there and press it down. You can kind of hear it, but not really. So I found on Amazon this box here, Xbox Elite controller replacement bumpers, and in the box you're going to get all this stuff. So you actually get 2 replacement bumpers, and you'll get the screwdrivers that you will need. This one we're not going to use. This might be for another controller or getting deep into it, but we don't need this one for the Elite controller. And then this one, if you can see, it has a little hole. Let me see if I can get it to focus in on there. It has a little hole there inside, so it's kind of a security torque tip screw. And then these pieces here that are to help get some of the other plastic pieces off. So we'll do that in a minute. The part that I found, and it works really well, I've already replaced it and then took it back off and put the old one back on just so I could do this video. It's by a company called Sthetix. That's Sthetix. If you search that on Amazon, these parts go for about 20 bucks. It takes 2 days to ship, and like I said, they fit pretty well. And they provide you with pretty much everything you need except actual instructions on how to take your controller apart. As you see, I've got the Elite controller. I've taken the pads off because they start to get worn, and when they start to get worn, they start to, when you start rubbing on them, little pieces come out on them. So I just took them all off. I might replace them later. Don't know. Don't care. Not the point. So first you want to take off any of your removable pieces. And then you're going to flip it over, take off the battery, take the batteries out, set those aside, and right underneath the sticker here is your first screw that you need to take out. Now, there was some changes in the laws recently where people were worried, you know, you take this, you break this seal, take the screw out, your warranty is voided. Well, that's no longer the case. So you can look up that more if you want to later on, but that doesn't necessarily void your warranty. That's the wrong screwdriver. So you're going to take that one out first. Step aside. And then the next step is we're going to take off these grip pieces on the sides, and those are just stuck on there. They're just snapped in. They're not screwed in or anything. However, I'm not sure if all the Elite controllers are like this, but mine, and probably most of them, have a piece of double-sided sticky tape on them. So it'll feel like you might be trying to break your controller because it won't come out, but really it's just this sticky tape, and it's still sticky, but it's not as sticky as it used to be. So you just want to take those both off, set them to the side. They're pretty easy to get off, especially once you've already done it once. Alright, and now we're going to take off 4 more screws. There's going to be, excuse me, one here, down here, there's the first one, and then there's one here, and there. So we're going to take those out real quick. And I recommend when you're working with these little screws and stuff, have you like a magnet tray or just a little bowl to put the screws in so you don't lose them. I actually have just a piece of box tape that I've stuck to my desk on the side, and they just stick to it. So that also works. If you have a problem getting these out, I don't, because I'll usually just flip it over. But if you don't want to flip it over, you're worried about losing them, you can get your little piece of little tweezers and get a hold of them, pull them out. It's a little easier that way. But normally I just, depending on the piece, I just flip it over, it comes right out. All right, so that pops off the front. And now we have the inner workings. So some things to notice before we get into the actual bumper piece. This piece right here, this little switch, go ahead and take that out just in case, that way it doesn't fall out. Make note of how it goes back in. It's going to have, let me get it up there. It's going to have, if you can see it, let's move this out of the way. And we'll put this behind it so you can see. You can see it's going to have like a little plastic piece up here that sticks out on the top, and then these two here. So this is going to be the top, this is going to be the part that is closest to the Xbox guide button. So when you put that back in, you want to make sure you get it in there the right way, otherwise it won't fit. So pretty obvious there. Next thing, you won't have to worry about it too much. The other stuff, pretty much you can shake it. Magnets, these little rumble packs or whatever they're called, the vibrators, they might come out, but they may not. This one stayed in, this one didn't. Not a big deal. So now we're going to get this sucker out of here. So all we have to do is take one of your tools, or you can just do it by hand. I do it by hand. Just kind of pop it off right there. You can see where it kind of sticks with these little holes. There's pieces that are on the actual controller. Those kind of stick in there. So you want to pop it up just a little bit to kind of loosen that up, and then you can try and pry it, but I've found it's just easier just to get something and press in on that guide button, because that guide button is one of the reasons that it won't come out so easily. So if you just press in on that guide button, it'll slide out a lot easier. And as you can see, it's broken. These are, as much as I like Xbox, these are pieces of junk. Just this part, at least individually. That's not to say anything bad about the rest of the controller, but this is just poor craftsmanship. Especially if you game a lot, they're going to end up coming apart or breaking fairly quickly. I mean, even these new parts though, they're made the same, so you can see how they're exactly the same pretty much. Might be a little bit beefier. The company that made these, they might be a little bit beefier, but they're always going to break right here or right here. And recently with one of the Destiny updates where you could spam grenades constantly, I'm a Titan main, so I would just run one of the exotic arm pieces. I don't know how it's the pauldrons, whatever they're called. I'm sure I'm going to get crucified for that later. But when you run your super and you can constantly, as long as you were running that and then you did the buff for grenades, you could just constantly throw out your shield. So this bumper got a lot of work out, and the bumper's going to get a lot of work out no matter what. So it's probably good to just remember that. So we're just going to throw that trash away. Now, one of the things before we start putting this together, also to note is this is your little reconnect button. So just keep note of how it's placed in there. It goes in just like that. Move this down a little bit. There's going to be a little slot right here that's going to slot, that one piece that sticks out is going to slide into. So you can see kind of how it goes in there. This is probably the most difficult part of this entire process, because trying to keep that in there right in place and get this in here, fairly difficult. Only when you consider one of the things that a lot of people, I think, have had a long time with this, because if you look at the reviews for some of these different replacement parts, a lot of people are like, oh, it doesn't fit. Oh, I can't get it. It's not working. It keeps hitting the bumpers. Well, one of the reasons it's probably doing that, and I don't know for sure, is that you've got these two little wings that kind of stick out, and they have to go right through here, because that's actually what's hitting the button. So a lot of times I think people are just trying to put it in there and they're forcing it in, and I don't know if I can get to see this, but you can see where, you might be able to see where, There we go. You can see where if you put it in normally the way you think you're supposed to, that piece starts to go over top of that, and the same thing on the other side. So I think that's one of the problems a lot of people have. May not be. It may just be the other part, whatever they bought just isn't fitting correctly. So that's also something to consider. And that's why I recommend the STH ETIX. Like I said, I've already tested it. Fits really good. Worked really good. We'll see later on how it stands up to the abuse that I put controllers through, but we'll deal with that later. And like I said, it comes with 2, so I can easily replace it if I have to. I don't expect these controllers to last forever. However, the original version of the controller, the one that came with the Xbox One originally, that didn't have, the ones that don't have this 3.5 millimeter jack, those were better. Those were made different, and they lasted a lot longer, but they don't work with these. So let's get that in there now. Sorry, I keep hitting the light. That it's very sensitive. All right, so when you go to put this in, you're going to want to start from the bottom up. So you're just going to see if I can get in there without losing that piece. So you're just going to stick it in there. You can kind of see the little slots where these pieces are going to go. So you'll stick it in there. I can't get it in that way. So hopefully you're just getting the idea. So you stick it in there. And then, like I said, you're going to have to make sure that you get these pieces slotted in so they can actually hit that button. All right. And all at the same time doing this. Come on, get in there. Keeping your sync button to where it's supposed to be. Now that'll make this really easy. All you got to do is just kind of push on a little bit, and there it popped right into place. All right, and you can kind of test it. It might pick out a little bit, but once you kind of snap it in there, it'll be good. So you can see it works pretty well. It's not hitting the trigger buttons at all. They're not impeded or anything. So that's it. So now we're just going to put it back together. Don't forget the controller setting selection button. Make sure you've got it in there properly. That'll just slide on right there. Like that. Grab me some screws. And these screwdrivers that you get sent with this kit are magnetic. So we always like magnets, one of the things that make life easier for us. And you just want to do them until they're just, kind of tight. Don't force it down. You're not going to make your controller work better by making the screw tighter. You're just going to break your controller. And this is honestly a lot easier of a fix than contacting Microsoft and saying, hey, my controller is broken. They have a program called Make It Right. So if your controller does break, you can contact them. It might take you a couple days. It might be a little bit of a hassle. But in the end, you can end up getting you can get your controller either fixed or replaced. I want to say they replace them. I did it a couple times. This is probably my 4th Elite controller that I can remember, because I've had this bumper button problem for a while. So they kept taking my controller in. You have to send your controller in first. So you're either without a controller, or you have to use maybe a spare if you have one laying around. Which is kind of crappy, because they're getting more money if you have to go out and buy another controller. You might as well just use that controller instead of worrying about the Elite one. So what I think they do personally is they take your controller. Once they get it in, they give you back a refurbished controller. So I sent mine in 4 or 5 times, so there's a good chance I got the same controller back several times. And one of the reasons I'm pretty sure this is what happens is because this is the broken piece. This is the original piece that came on the controller that I got back from Microsoft Service Center. And this little part right here, I have no idea what this gouge is or why that gouge is even there from a normal maintenance or user base. But this gouge was here when I received the controller. And it was a gouge. It wasn't that big of a deal. So I was just tired of it. the controller that I had before this that I had to have them replaced, they sent it to me and immediately the D-pad didn't work. Right off the bat, like straight out of the box from them, didn't work. So now we got all the screws in. Snap those suckers back on. I apologize, I sound a little nasally. Allergy season kind of sucks. Oop, that's synced up. And there you have it. It's all working just fine and dandy. And if I need to replace it again, I can. You're going to find a couple other places that have these in different colors. If you want it that way, that's fine. Just kind of look at the reviews and make sure that they actually fit. Because there's no point in buying these and then them not fitting. And then you're out, I don't know, $10 to $20 depending on how much you paid for it. But this guy will work for the Elite controller no matter what. Make sure, again, that you are also buying the right version. If you go with the, here's the name again, the STHETIX set. They've got 2 different versions. Chances are you'll find the 2019 upgraded version. I don't know what the difference is, but I bought that one instead of the 2018 version. Just make sure you get the right one because again, the controllers that have the 3.5 millimeter and the controllers that don't have the 3.5 millimeter, they're different up here, and the Elite controllers are different from the regular normal Xbox One controllers, and the S controller is apparently even more different from those. So just make sure you're getting the right version. Thanks for watching, and hopefully this helped you. If you're watching on YouTube or Twitch or whatever of a recorded session, I will put the link for the version that I found, that I used, in the description, so you can follow that link. And hopefully you give me a shout out somehow. Like, subscribe, whatever. I'm going to start doing more videos for stuff like this and some gameplay videos. Thanks again.